I am planning to make few videos on CYD35, not CYD, the cheap yellow display that normally has 2.8 inch screen. CYD35, I'll show you. It's not a cheap yellow display because the screen size is 3.5 inches. I bought it from AliExpress because I couldn't get cheap yellow display to load images from SD card. So got this AliExpress link. I got it for $12.50 because there was a discount. So if you click on it, it will take you to AliExpress. You can buy the same screen from Amazon, but I think it's like £30. So it's not this one, the resistive touch, it's this one, capacitive touch. This one means that it's fully touch screen, so there's no delay. It's quite very fast. So I bought this for £12.30. So this one's $11.79 plus shipping. So it's up to you if you want to buy it. So I'll be creating projects for this screen, basically migrating what I did for cheap yellow display to show on the cheap yellow display 3.5. I call it CYD35. This is the cheap yellow display which I've been using to make online tutorials. I've also bought a new display that looks similar to the cheap yellow display, but the screen is larger. It's around 3.5 inches, and that's this one. That's the cheap yellow display, and that's the 2.8 inch one, and that one I call it cheap yellow display. It's 3.5 inch across, so I call it CYD35. So I'll be creating some tutorials or videos on how to create stuff on CYD35. Not the one on the left, that's CYD 2.8, the original CYD, and this one is CYD 3.5. If you look at the back, there's a number here. Let me zoom in there. It's called ESP32 3248S035. It's actually S035C because it's got capacitive touch. This is how the animation example looks on this cheap yellow display, and this is how it looks like on the same program on the cheap yellow display 3.5 or 35, CYD35. This one is fully touch screen, and this one is like resistive, so you have to touch harder, or you can use a stylus. Most of the tutorials or videos I will create for CYD35 will be using the PlatformIO environment with the IDE. Someone suggested online, and I realized it makes the creating LVGL projects much more easier. Otherwise it's a big hassle to change from 3.5 CYD to CYD 3.5, vice versa. Too much config. If you use PlatformIO, then all you have to do is include the specific config files in the project. It's quite hard to run cheap yellow display and cheap yellow display 35 in the same computer, so using Arduino. So all the projects I will do for CYD35 will be via PlatformIO. So you can, if you're not familiar with it, I suggest you become familiar first, because I'm a beginner. I won't be able to help you with anything you get stuck on. what you'll have to do first, so we'll use the PlatformIO, so obviously you'll have to install VS Code, Visual Studio, and then install PlatformIO. This is not for beginners, so you need to know, or you're already familiar with PlatformIO. First thing you'll have to do is you'll have to go to CYD35 underscore practice project. I'll put the link on the description, and go to templates. Actually, don't go to templates, and clone the project. You need to be obviously familiar with the Git clone. I can't help you anything related to Git. So clone this project and then go to templates file, and there's a template. What we will do is we will use this template to create our first project. I have already have the template on my system, so what I'll do is I'll copy the template, and then I have a folder for all the PlatformIO projects called EEZ Studio projects, CYD35. I'm going to paste that project, the template one, and just rename it to something like testing first CYD35 project. So if you go in there, what it has is, in the include library, there's the LVGL config file and user setup file. So this one is specific to the CYD35 screen, and this user setup is also specific to the user CYD35. So this won't work for cheap yellow display. It will work only for CYD35. Now that I've renamed it, what we'll have to do is import that project into our PlatformIO workspace. So click on File, Add Folder to Workspace, and select it. Click Add. As see, is included. Notice that there's no libraries here. So far there's no libraries have been built. So if you go to your PlatformIO.ini file, you see there's like a default set of libraries that I'm going to add or need for this project. This first one is LVGL and the version LVGL 9.1, then the TFT ESPI library, and then some few others. The other one we'll have to add here is called upload port. Because I'm using CYD and CYD35 in the same system, I can specify a specific port for CYD35. So in this case I'm going to use the COM4, or you can use COM3, whatever is available. So let's say COM3. Now if you click, remember I said there are a couple of default config files. We will need to, just like how we set up for Arduino, we will need to copy these config files over to our libraries once they are downloaded. First thing you'll have to do is change the project. So you can just click on that and then select your project. In this case it's testing first CYD35 project. Once you selected it, you will download all the libraries. That takes around a minute or two. Once that is done, what we will have to do is we'll have to copy out the config files But I will show you what happens if we don't copy over the config files. Now the build has finished, and if you go to your project, what you will see is there's that .pio folder. Inside it there's a library dependencies, libdeps, and then within the ESP32 Dev folder, you got all these libraries have been downloaded. Notice these ones were not downloaded, some of them, because they are part of the core library, so it doesn't have to be downloaded. So you can take them off basically. Only this one was downloaded, this one, and this one. So now if you build it, you will see that it will complain. Once the build happens, when it finishes, you notice some error asking for the config file. It cannot find the config files. I could have put the config files there by myself into the LVGL folders and TFT ESPI, but I just want to show you what happens. There you go. So you can see the build has failed, and it's saying this file wasn't found. Config.header file wasn't found. So what we will have to do is first we'll need to copy the user setup file into TFT ESPI folder, delete the default one, and simply paste the one that we have in include folder, which is done. The other thing we have to do is just like what we did for Arduino, we have to put the LV config file in the same level as LVGL library, so we have to put it here. Now if you run it again, this time you'll see, if you once the build is done, you will just upload the project.